And just like that, it is Wednesday, May 1st. Wake up, 49er fans. Good to see you. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Good morning, Lawrence.
How's it going? Big Wednesday, beautiful day out here in the Bay, in the East Bay. And a lot to talk about. There's never a shortage of things to talk about.
Never a dull moment. It's amazing. Here you are in May. You're about as, far away from the NFL starting up again. You're officially a couple months removed from the Super Bowl and all the hangovers that come with that now. And the NFL is still right in the middle of the entire American sports map. It never leaves the middle. It's always the bullseye, Larry. It's always. We got baseball fully underway. We got very interesting NBA first-round action all over the league, and it is still football that is at the forefront of just about every broadcast, every single web page that you're going to open. It is the NFL 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. And if you're not doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. That's basically the way it goes.
A lot of stuff to talk about. And, now you start to kind of take a closer look at what everybody did in the offseason and say, okay, who's way better? Who's a little bit better? Who's worse? Because that's the way it goes. I mean, teams get better and teams get worse. So which one are you and to what degree? And, it is interesting. I was looking at a CBS breakdown online of, or on YouTube, a little breakdown of everybody's draft last night. They went division by division with Rick Spielman, and the 49ers and the Chiefs are the overwhelming favorites to win their divisions, more so than any other two teams in pro football. So the two teams that were the chalk and have been in two of the last four Super Bowls are still thought of in many ways as the chalk coming out of the draft.
Well, look, I think Kansas City's officially put themselves in position. We're the best team in football until we're not. Until somebody takes a Super Bowl from us, we're the best team in football. They're going to try to become the first team in the history of the NFL to win 3 Super Bowls in a row this year. It's a tall task. It's mathematically probably not going to happen. But again, anytime you want to start mathematically counting out the Kansas City Chiefs for whatever strong argument you might have to count them out, here comes Patrick Mahomes and here comes Travis Kelce and here comes Andy Reid. And what do you know? They've won it again. Like, that's just kind of who they are.
They won last year in their down year.
Right. It was
their
definitely
transition year with no wide receivers.
Definitely the best defense they ever brought to the dance. But yeah, the most muted offense we've seen in the Reid Mahomes era still got the job done. The old Harbaugh line, Larry, who's got it better than us? Nobody. Well, look, who's got it better than the Niners? It's a small handful of teams, if it's even enough to fill up a handful. But as we look around, who are you today confident saying this team is either superior to or the equal of the San Francisco 49ers, acknowledging that Kansas City is superior than, not equal to? The Chiefs are better. Full stop. We're not here to debate anything. They won. So 49ers are definitely a favorite. I think that it's kind of all the usual suspects of last year with more danger attached to them, right? Detroit got better. Green Bay got better. And I think the Los Angeles Rams got better. Like, the 49ers are not just preordained to win the NFC West the way that it felt the last year. I think the Rams are going to be legitimate division contenders this year, Larry. I really do. I think they got, they lost Aaron Donald, yet they still got better.
Well, we'll see on defense. On offense, look what they got. They've got Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Cooper Kupp, Stafford, that big kid Avila on the front line. They added more to their front line offensively. Defensively, we'll see. They got Jared Verse. They got Braden Fisk at the top of the draft. So I think the Rams definitely are improved. I would say the team that people should not sleep on is the Eagles. The Eagles got Quinyon Mitchell, who I think is the best prospect in the draft in a lot of ways, the cleanest prospect. He's really a great corner prospect. There were no downsides. Everything he did, everything was perfect. His season was perfect. His build up to the draft was perfect. His workouts were great. Everything about Quinyon Mitchell there was no downside. So to me, they got the cleanest prospect. Then they got Cooper DeJean. So I mean, even if I don't know what DeJean is, but they had problems in the secondary and they addressed him. They also added Mekhi Becton after the draft to their offensive lines. You know, they did lose Jason Kelsey, and they've had some age on their offensive line. But I mean, they still have a really good defensive line. They added 2 really good DBs. They added Devin White. They added Chauncey Gardner Johnson. To me, the Eagles are right there. I mean, it's Niners, Eagles, Lions,
Packers.
maybe Packers. So I didn't love the Packer draft. I mean, Jordan Morgan, I thought was just a
Well,
kind of a
you're
pick.
down on Jordan Morgan. You don't like him at all. You didn't want him to the Niners,
I
and
don't like him. I don't. He's definitely not worth a first round draft choice. And to to start your draft with him was weak. But I mean, they got some other guys though. Who else did they draft? Let me see who else they drafted. They had a pretty good draft after Jordan Morgan. It just wasn't a good beginning. So yeah, I mean, I would say if Jordan Love continues to come on, Packers, you
right.
know,
They got the
I,
linebacker, Edrin Cooper, out of Texas
yeah,
A&M.
who's a great player. I mean,
The running back, Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. But again, how much are they going to see with him adding Josh Jacobs in this offseason?
yeah, but he's a good back. What else do they get?
Javon Bullard, the safety out of Georgia, with
that's going to help.
Second pick of the second round. They had 2 second round picks that were Cooper and Bullard.
Yeah, Cooper's a great player. So they got a really good player there. So I mean, it's a team that is definitely on the uptick. Plus all those young weapons in year 2, Tucker Kraft, the Michigan State kid, Downtavian Wicks, all those guys, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, they're third year guys, but they got a lot of young, weapons that are getting better, and they added a big time running back. And, Green Bay, Detroit, Philly are the team that took a step back was Dallas. Dallas took a step back because they really didn't have that kind of a draft, and they lacked a running back, and the reuniting with
Ezekiel
Elliott is not going to move the needle. And there'll probably be one surprise team, but it's Niners, Packers, Lions, Eagles. To me, all looked, those teams definitely got better. Now, I don't know if they're better than the Niners, but I would say right now it's a photo finish between those 4 teams in the NFC.
When you take players from UConn and UTEP, and that's exactly what Seattle did with their 3rd and 4th round picks. They did not have a 2nd round pick. They take Texas defensive tackle Byron Murphy II, and then come back with Christian Haynes, who is an offensive lineman that I know we talked about, Larry. You like him out of UConn.
Yeah,
Travis Knight, the linebacker out of UTEP.
That's Tyrese. That's Tyrese Knight. And Tyrese had the best 10-yard split of anybody. He's a damn good player.
Tyrese, I got to get that name right. And then AJ Barner, who is a name that we talked about as a possible tight end, TE2 for the 49ers. He ends up in Seattle. Seattle might not have had nearly as sexy of a draft as Arizona did, but I think that Seattle is just going through a little bit of a transition after the Pete Carroll era. That's going to change who they are and their identity a little bit.
New head coach. They got a new head coach probably. I mean, I don't know are they going to stay with their same quarterback? Are they going to stay with Geno?
Well, they didn't really draft his replacement as their replacement on the roster. Do they feel, I think it's another Geno year. I think it's set up to be another Geno year. And yes, unless something happens.
They didn't get Penix. See, my big fear was that Rams or Seahawks would wind up with Penix, and that Penix would get a chance to play right away, because I really believe in Penix. But neither got Penix. So the Cardinals are leaning on, Desmond Ridder and Kyler. I mean, and so the Rams obviously have Stafford, but they didn't get their quarterback of the future. But Seattle is staying with Geno, and I'll take my chances on that. So,
Larry, I do think that if not this year, possibly the next year, is the year that Arizona climbs out of the basement of this division and becomes, the team behind either the 49ers or the Rams trying to win it. Arizona, I thought, had a great draft. I mean, they should have had a great draft. They were set up to have a good draft with all of, with all the picks that they had, all the bad players, all the bad years that have accumulated.
Marvin Harrison, and then
Yeah.
they went with Darius Robinson from
Max Melton.
Missouri.
I mean,
Max Melton is a great corner for sure. They had a very good draft. Trey Benson, who's a fast, big running back later. Yeah, I mean they Isaiah Adams is a brawler. The guard they got for guard tackle from Illinois.
And the ultimate question
Tip Ryman's the best blocking tight end. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their draft pick by pick here. They're, Elijah Jones from Boston College, a really good corner. I mean, yeah, Bonnie Ossenfort hit it out of the park. Dadrian Taylor Demerson is a really excellent young safety. Yeah, I mean, Xavier Thomas, a good edge rusher.
And they still have Buda Baker, who
Christian
they're either going to
Jones.
play or trade here at some point, right? So it feels like Arizona's got options. And do you believe in Kyler Murray? I guess it all comes down to that. If Kyler Murray takes that step forward and he's uninjured this year and doesn't start the year trying to recover from an injury, which is what happened last year, which is how we got to know Josh Dobbs. Like Arizona, it doesn't even matter who Arizona is on paper. It feels like they always ball up their fist and throw their best punch at the 49ers. There's just some teams that play better when they see the opposing uniform. And for whatever reason, the Arizona Cardinals might suck and they still give the Niners more than they usually want in a football game. I'm wondering if Arizona might not be the surprise team, if not in the NFC. I don't think the surprise team in the NFC feels like too big of a building, but surprise team in the NFC West would mean Arizona is fighting out for a wild card spot.
Well, I mean, it's a bad franchise with terrible ownership, and they're kind of erratic in every way imaginable. But Monty Ossenfort has done a nice job as the general manager. They brought in Jonathan Gannon, and I thought Gannon had a really nice first year. The team didn't quit. They're building something there for sure. But there's we'll see. We'll see how far they can get. I don't necessarily think they're going to arrive this year, but if they keep building up top players, I mean, they're coming for sure.
Right. Well,
so it's hard to say what is the team outside of the teams that we named that's going to jump up, because like Atlanta is going to add Kirk Cousins. They also added Michael Penix. They have pretty good offensive weapons, Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and they've got some weapons there. Rams getting off the canvas. I mean, are the Bears, going to show up, or are they in the distance?
They're a year away.
Yeah, they might be more away. But I mean, like some other team, one other team that we haven't named will probably rise up and do something in the NFC.
You know who that team might be? It's the team that almost ran into the 49ers in the NFC title game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Depending on what you think of Baker Mayfield, finally being able to get a little continuity into, how he goes about it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the team that nobody paid much attention to, yet kept winning. They added Graham Barton out of Duke, who is an interior offensive lineman that we discussed an awful lot around the 49ers. Chris Braswell out of Alabama. Braswell, the edge rusher, is a player that, a lot of people think he could make an impact in year one as a second-round pick. We'll see. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers always have more than you think they're going to have to throw at the rest of the league. And if you believe in Baker Mayfield settling in and, finally finding his professional home, maybe Tampa Bay has, something for us this year, because, it's the NFC South, right?
Yeah, I mean, Tampa's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure if I believe in Baker Mayfield, to be honest. But
look at it this way: every single time I doubt him, he plays a good game.
Yeah, they added a lot of skill position guys. I'm looking at their draft. I mean, They added Devin Culp, a tight end. They added Bucky Irving, the running back. They added Jalen McMillan, a receiver. Um, so they added quite a bit on offense, and then obviously Barton inside. I mean, I'll say this: the one thing about Jason Licht or Light there is that he believes in building a strong offensive line, and they do have a strong offensive line. They just brought in Barton. They have Wirfs. They have some guys up front, so they're not barren up front. But I don't know if I believe in Baker Mayfield. To me, if it's I kind of like Seattle with McDonald. I think they're the team. If you said, where is there a team in the division that is going to surprise? Well, Byron Murphy is going to be for Mike McDonald, what the A&M guy is for the Ravens, Matabuke. So that gives them that interior movement tackle that they didn't have. And then Haynes is a big time guard. I think he's going to help them dramatically. Knight gives them a really, really strong linebacker. Barner is a 6'6" tight end, should help a little bit. And then, they got some decent guys on, Nehemiah Pritchett is a corner that they like corners. John Schneider likes drafting corners. They also got the gigantic guard from Utah, who's a great run blocker. So Seattle's interesting for sure. DJ James from Auburn, another corner. They got him late. They really like their corners. So I don't know. I mean, Seattle to me is kind of a winning organization. So it's like I don't think they're going to be down for long. But if you said contenders in the NFC, maybe Commanders. Maybe the Commanders. They really are coming on. I mean, the Commanders I don't know how good Jaden Daniels is going to be year one, but Jaden Daniels is an outstanding player. They got Johnny Newton on the defensive line in the second round. That was a huge steal. Mikey Sainristil is a tremendous nickel corner. They got him in the next pick. Ben Sinnott is a tremendous tight end from K-State. They picked him up as well. I mean, in some ways, Brandon Coleman is a TCU monster offensive lineman.
I think it's an awful lot to just look at a rookie class and just say, "Oh, this team's coming." I mean, they definitely got better and they improved, but they had nowhere to go but up, right? From the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, but they also signed 20 free agents, so they improved their team going into the draft and then had a really strong draft as well. So I think the Commanders are coming. Like if you said to me, NFC East, the favorite is Dallas right now, and then Philly. But I think Dallas to me is going down, and the Commanders are going up in that division.
Are the New York Giants about to matter again?
I don't think so. I mean, you still have Daniel Jones and all kinds of issues. You moved out off of Saquon Barkley. I mean, they did add Neighbors, who gives them a dynamic player. But no, I would say the Giants. And the Giants are on the bottom. The Cowboys are moving down. Philly's moving up. Commanders are moving up.
Okay. Back to the Niners.
Yeah.
How ridiculous of a statement is this? You've done a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least ridiculous, 10 being the most ridiculous, and you're not about to hurt my feelings. What if I told you the entire 49ers season basically can be directly measured by whatever kind of season Colton McKivitz has? That Colton McKivitz is literally the X factor in whether this team really is back in the Super Bowl or not. Colton McKivitz, right tackle, the entire season kind of hinges on his play. 10, I'm bonkers. 1, I'm not bonkers.
Well, I mean, is he important? He's your starting right tackle, so he's got some importance, but he was your starting right tackle last year. I just think too much emphasis has been put on Colton McKivitz. I don't think they lost because of Colton McKivitz. I don't think Colton McKivitz is the weak spot on their line. I think the weak spot on their line is at right guard and at center. I think Colton McKivitz is serviceable. He's a serviceable player. He's not the best tackle in football, but he's not the worst. He's somewhere in the middle. I think it has more to do this year with health and how to me it's not the offensive line, it's the defensive line. Is the Niner defensive line, is it better than it was last year? Is it the same than it was last year? Or is it worse than it was last year? And it could be it could be any of the three, because they did get younger and deeper. They moved off Armstead. They moved off Chase Young. They moved off Randy Gregory. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They brought in Malik Collins. They brought in Jordan Elliott. They brought in Yatir Gross Matos.
Well,
but
they
how
hit on
how
those
good of a
free agent
team, how good of a
decisions.
D line is it? Because it's younger,
Yeah.
but is it better? I mean, I like Leonard Floyd more than I liked. Like if you said to me last year, you can have Chase Young, Leonard Floyd, or Randy Gregory, I'm taking Leonard Floyd all day, every day, just because he plays really hard and he gets you 10 sacks a year. The other two guys don't play really hard, or if they do, they weren't ideally
Well,
suited for this scheme.
yeah, we had a front row seat to their disappointing performances in 49ers uniforms, right? I mean, we
I mean, Gregory played okay a little bit initially, but then kind of evaporated. But they just never got anything out of their defensive line last year, ever.
No, it was arguably the most disappointing, biggest build unit, maybe in the entire NFL, in terms of underperformance, what you expected, the tone that you just expected them to set in each and every game. They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Hargrave wasn't worth the money. I mean, they blew off their depth for Hargrave, and then they realized about 5-6 games in that, man, Ebukam and Aziz and some of those guys up front that they said goodbye to, not to mention Emmanuel Mosley and the changes they made in the secondary, Jimmy Ward. They lost like 5 good run defenders, replaced them with a pass rushing tackle, and then looked up and said, wow, our run defense sucks.
We're not as good as we used to be.
Why are we not good against the run? Well, I don't know. You let 5 good run defenders walk out the door, including your edge setting Samson Ebukam, one of your tackling machines in Aziz Al-Shair, one of the most physical safeties you've ever had, and in Jimmy Ward, one of the most physical corners you've ever had, in Emmanuel Mosley, and you replaced them all with guys who weren't as good against the run, and you weren't as good against the run. So, to me, they really sold out for the big name guy, and they lost their depth and their quality and their run D, and then they couldn't stop the run. Couldn't stop the run really all year. They just scored so many points in certain games that teams stopped running.
Nick Bosa was a disappointment last year, if we're being completely honest, right? I mean,
not as big a disappointment as Hargrave, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The whole thing didn't work like it was supposed to, and we all know it, and there's no reason to pretend that didn't just happen. It needs to get better. They need to improve there. They went out through free agency trying to improve it. I'm just telling you that the decisions that they made, they better hit. Jordan Elliott,
the decisions have been made. I mean, there's no, nobody's walking through that door to save anybody. So is Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins an upgrade on Eric Armstead, or is it a lateral move, or is it a severe downgrade?
Right. Somebody told me
it's hard to know.
Malik Collins is only good against the run. Well, that's fine, because that's exactly the area of improvement that he's got to be on the field to address. I mean, getting better against the run is something that this defensive line needs to do. They just can't have Fred Warner be the mop-up man behind them for any and all mistakes to line of scrimmage.
They've got to get something. Jordan Elliott, to me, I thought Jordan Elliott was supposed to be the guy against the run, and Collins was more of a pass rusher. But either way, they've got to. I think Jordan Elliott was a great signing. Why? Because he's young. I think he can play the run. He was this. According to PFF, he was the 6th best defensive tackle against the run when he was on the field last year. So I'm hoping Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins are an upgrade from Armstead, but I don't know. I can't say for sure. I definitely know that Floyd's an upgrade from what they had, but then they're also still leaning on some of the other defensive ends like Drake Jackson and these other guys to kind of step up and play. So what are they up front? That to me is a big one. And then you lost Dre Greenlaw for a big chunk of the year. He was your if not your best defensive player, one of your 2 or 3 best defensive players. And, a guy that makes tons of tackles and huge impact. So now you're replacing him with Devondre Campbell. That's not an upgrade. That's a downgrade. How healthy are you at safety with Talanoa Hufanga coming off the ACL? Is he going to play right away? And then how good are you on the corner? I mean, there's lots of questions on defense. I think offensively, the line is going to be always a concern, especially on the right side. But like, is Pooney going to be good enough to compete for the starting right guard job? And then how much do you use Pearsall? How much do you use Cowing? How much do you use Schrader, Garendo, those new weapons that you have? So, I mean, I think the offense looks more dynamic and maybe a little deeper on the offensive line. The defense is very much a question mark.
Well, and it just feels, and we were on this all last year, it feels like the NFL has made a strategic choice to combat all this defensive line talent, not just that the 49ers have, but around the league. This is a ball is out in under 2-second league now. It's out. The ball's out. There's, congratulations on your team full of elite pass rushers. There's really no pass to rush that you can even get to in that short a time. So it feels like the league went out of its way to combat great defensive lines just with strategic choices, getting that ball out really fast. And that means that the 49ers got caught like over-invested in a position group that might not play the way it used to because the league doesn't play quite the way it used to. And
I mean, they'll benefit from it offensively in that now they've got another guy in Pearsall. They don't have to sit there and wait on Chris Jones. They can get the ball out quickly themselves. But yeah, as far as what's it going to do to their defense, how good are they on the second level? How good are they in the secondary?
that's why I thought the price.
I mean, you got a new coordinator. You've got Brandon Staley there. How's that whole thing going to work out between Sorensen and Staley? Especially if it's not an instant success. If it's an instant success, it all works out. If it's not an instant success, then you've got Staley, who's been a successful defensive coordinator and a not successful head coach, standing there over a first-year coordinator in Nick Sorensen. So, I mean, don't tell me that doesn't have problems written all over it. I mean, if they get off to a slow start, is Sorensen going to be blamed? Are the players going to be blamed? Is Brandon Staley going to grab the wheel? Is Shanahan going to allow him to grab the wheel? Do you want him to grab the wheel? Is he even
Brandon
have the same
Staley,
scheme?
take the wheel. Oh.
I mean, does he even have the scheme his scheme's been quite a bit different than their scheme. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, there's some unknowns here.
Yeah, that's what one of my premises was. Maybe they're evolving their defense into a 3-4, and just kind of like I think hybrid's about to be the word. I think you're going to see.
They're not, because they're going with the wide 9 front. With Kosaric and which is at its base a 4-3 look. So I don't think they're changing to the 3-4. If they are, you'd have to change out a number of your defensive linemen. You'd have to make Nick Bosa an outside backer at 270 or whatever. I don't know.
I honestly believe we're going to see Nick Bosa line up more at D tackle this season than in any other year that he's played. The fastest way to the quarterback is a straight line. And this is why I think the price for guards and centers went up in the league this year, because defensive tackles are probably as big of a big of an element of your pass rush now as they could have ever been. It's not just the edge guys going to get the quarterback. You got to go up through the middle, and maybe this is where Hargrave starts to pay off for the 49ers. But I thought that, with
Bosa inside, I don't think both. I mean, Yatir Gross-Matos, I think, is going to be inside, and I think you're going to see, they'll still do a lot of stunting and twisting and movement up front. But I think, if they're going to go back to that all defensive end look, you're going to see Gross-Matos as the bigger bodied guy, probably lining up inside, and maybe Drake Jackson, who at times had success lining up inside. But they've got to figure out who they can depend on this defensive line. They're going to camp with another 15 or 16 defensive linemen, and they're going to have to, make do with that. They also paid, Evan Anderson as an undrafted free agent $280,000 guaranteed. They gave him $30,000 signing bonus. They gave him $250,000 as a roster bonus that's guaranteed. So even if he doesn't make the team, they've invested almost 300 grand in this undrafted free agent defensive tackle out of Florida Atlantic. And that's going to be interesting because he was kind of a overweight, slow guy who didn't get a lot done. Now he's dropped down to 320 from 360, and he's doing backflips into his pool. And obviously they love him because they gave him a mint to sign as an undrafted free agent. Can he play a role? Can he stop the run? Can he give them another two gap guy in the middle, replacing Kinlaw? They didn't stop the run last year. So, that's a big one. Can they run the ball? Can they stop the run? Is the offensive line going to be improved? Is Pooney going to, who's going to start? I mean, is Pooney good enough to start? Is Burford good enough to start, or were they going to lean on Feliciano, who's been in the league forever? What about Brendel? Now you got DJ Reader in Detroit. So, he really made Brendel look bad.
Feliciano is out there, I really believe if Feliciano's out there in week 1, shame on Spencer Burford. Shame on Pooney. Shame on these young bucks who were supposed to take an old vet like that in the last season of his career and turn him into a backup. Shame on these young men if they're not able to do that, because
Feliciano, I don't know, shame, but I mean, the bottom line is that you got to, it's on Forster as well. I mean, you handpicked these linemen. You're the O-line coach. If they can't play, it's kind of on you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a whole couple drafts here where you could have picked offensive linemen. You've picked these guys. Pooney and Burford better play. I mean, I'm not saying that, Burford's got to play tackle, but they better get, have decent offensive line play. Otherwise, Forster, I think, is on, gets called on the carpet because it's his picks. And, those are his guys.
There's a lot of Burford is done. Burford puking face going on I think Spencer Burford had a better year than a lot of people want to admit, and it's year 3 for him. And year 3 is supposed to be the year it really kicks in. This guy started an awful lot of NFL games before he's even turned 25 years old.
I mean, he's a good prospect. He really is. He's smart. He's got the ideal arm length, body type.
Trent Williams believes in him. Trent Williams thinks that's a real player.
I think he's a real player. He just had a regression in year 2, and he needs that. They just need to coach him up and get ready. I mean, he played tackle at Texas San Antonio. Then he came in as a rookie, played a little bit at guard, and looked pretty good. This year he kind of regressed, I thought, and they need him to take a major step forward.
By the way, that's not uncommon, right? I mean, progress is not linear athletically. It's not. It's just, it isn't. You don't always get better, never take a step back. It's the old, you hear Kruk and Kipe talking about it, once the league gets a book on you, then you got to make your second adjustment of your career, and then the third adjustment of your career. And it's just like that for offensive linemen as well. So I believe in the guy. Getting back to the whole, am I crazy thinking it's all about, McKivitz good year, boomer bust for the entire offense. I saw Coach Yak on Twitter. You follow him?
I would go with Kittle, by the way, as the guy who's the key guy, because there is nothing behind him. So if you don't have George Kittle, you're going to replacement level talent. So I would say this season, if it's going to ride on one individual, it's going to ride on George.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that's a bad call at all. At least the one guy you're putting it all on is 65 catches for 1,000 yards. You can almost put it down before the year even starts. It's kind of who he is. But yeah, if he were to get hurt, if something were to happen to take him out of the picture, that tight end room has question marks quickly that pop up.
You've got backup. You've got contingency plans at receiver now. you have contingency options at running back. Obviously Purdy's Purdy. There's no real, there's a major step down there. But
Right.
George Kittle, the number 2 tight end for the Niners, is who?
Mason Klein.
Mason Klein, Cam Latu,
Oh boy.
Jake Tungs, Eric Saubert.
Hey, it's time to go sign Robert Tonyan, is it not?
Well, that's what you just said. Coach Yak, he actually just put that out this morning. They ought to go get Robert Tonyan, and I agree. They should go get a veteran tight end who can block, who can be a solid number 2 tight end.
Right. And God forbid something happened to Kittle, you have you still got an actual tight end out there.
Who somebody's going to defend.
Who's done it?
I love Mason Klein as a prospect, and I like him. He's more of a receiving tight end than a blocker, but it would be nice if they had one more established. I mean, even if it was Mercedes Lewis and they were going with an old guy who can block, at this point, they either need a solid veteran tight end who can do a little bit of everything, or they need a blocking tight end. They have. Klein can be a receiver. I think Kittle can be a receiver. But as far as, like Dwelly, I don't think that's the ideal guy because he's only a receiver. You need if you add a tight end, he better be able to block a little bit.
By the way, to echo what I just saw from someone in the chat here, Niners Sickness Podcast says, come on, you got like 300 people in the chat, only 24 likes. Yeah, get on it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thanks very much.
Hit like and subscribe, everybody.
Like and subscribe. Even
if you hit like, that just helps more people in the algorithm kind of find the shows. And if you hit subscribe and you hit that notification bell every time we go live, you'll get a little notification that we're going live, so you don't have to miss any of the extravaganza. So there we go.
God forbid. Again, just to quickly get back to the whole McKivitz thing, and I'll be done. And what Coach Yak put out on Twitter, it didn't even feel like Trent Williams had this good of a year. Like I thought that Trent Williams had an all right year last year for the 49ers. A lot of penalties, some undisciplined choices on field, throwing punches, and just bullshit a veteran like that who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer shouldn't do. But okay. Trent Williams allowed 20 pressures last season, 0 sacks. Aaron Banks allowed 36 pressures last season, 0 sacks. Jake Brindle, 33 pressures. He allowed 2 sacks. John Feliciano, 22 pressures, 1 sack. Spencer Burford, 37 pressures, 5 sacks. Colton McKivitz got put out on that island. 59 pressures and 9 sacks is what he allowed. Again,
3 of them, though, against TJ Watt in week 1. He had a disastrous week 1, and he kind of regrouped from there. He also pitched a shutout in the playoffs against Detroit and Green Bay.
If he can cut that sack number in half, Larry, 49ers just became a much better pass protection team. Absolutely. Look, most right tackles are giving up 9, 10, 12 sacks. I don't think that that's abnormal anymore because you got teams drafting defensive linemen and throwing their best defensive linemen now not at left tackles anymore. That feels like a little bit of a stalemate. They're taking their best defensive tackles and throwing them on the right side, or the best defensive ends and edge rushers and putting them on the right side. This is why.
Or they're just overloading that side.
This is why you got Bosa.
We'll send 2 guys off the edge.
Nick Bosa
you can only block 1.
Right tackles. He's good enough to beat any left tackle in football, but he lines up against right tackles, and other teams are doing that too. So, your right tackle is pretty much going to be outgunned in just about every snap he faces. I think McKivitz can get better. I really do. McKivitz and Burford, you 2 guys come in and have big years. The 49ers can be back in the Super Bowl. And then you said,
I'd love to see Pooney. I'd love to see Pooney get in there and start. I mean, you drafted him in the 3rd round. It's not like he, was a young guy. He's a 5th year senior. He's coming off a really good year.
Do you think they would ever give him snaps at center in training camp?
I mean, he says he can play all 5 spots.
Yeah, that's the book.
To me, I mean, I would be very open-minded about my offensive line right of Aaron Banks. You got Trent at left tackle, you got Banks at left guard, and then then it's just a open tryout. Do you go with Brendel? I mean, Brendel's has been a Pro Bowl alternate 2 years ago. I know they like Brendel. They think he's smart, but he's about 285, 290. And I think Ben Barch is going to be in the mix for that starting spot at center.
Nick Zakelj,
Nick Zakel's a big tough guy as well, and he's keenly aware that he's had his rookie year, he's had his kind of scholarship time. It's time for him to step up, and obviously he's Brock Purdy's best buddy, but I mean, he's smart, he's tough, he's big. Maybe he could play right guard, maybe he could play center, but I mean, yeah, Zakelj, where's he fit in? Where does Burford fit in? Do you lean on Feliciano? Do you lean on Brendel at center? It seems like they've got options at center and guard. They don't seem like they got tons of options. I mean, they like Jalen Moore. John Lynch said, hey, we like Jalen Moore as our swing tackle. So they feel like they're covered between Trent and McKivitz and Jalen Moore. I would feel a whole lot better if they had a terrific young tackle in the pipeline. And they just don't. So they're going to have to lean on what they got.
Speaking of improving, prospects to get better, what could you do now that the draft is over? Free agency's basically been put to bed. David Bonilla of 49ers Web Zone says that the 49ers got a little open dialogue going on with Jamal Adams. Now, maybe this is Jamal Adams's agent getting that out there to get some movement on that player. But Bob Condata of the Seattle Times reports that the Seahawks remain interested in reuniting with free agent safety Jamal Adams. He adds another name to a list of teams considering Adams, and that's the 49ers. Quote, sources said the 49ers are among other teams that have kept in touch with Adams, so the Seahawks could have a little competition for the former All-Pro safety, who's still only 28 years old. He's only 28 years old, but he spent basically every season between 25 and 28, he was with Seattle the last 3 years after getting traded by the Jets, just disappointing everybody up in Seattle, either with the play on the field, because, I don't know if there's a safety in football who's better at coming up in the box and stuff in the run, but when it comes to defending the pass, the deep ball, you can run past Jamal Adams. And
yeah, I mean, I think it's a leverage play. I think it's an agent leverage play. It's like, hey, I want to go to the Dodgers. Well, just say that you're going to sign with the Giants, and now the Dodgers, if they have any interest, they're going to come to the table. I want to go, I want to come back to Seattle. Okay, just suggest that you may sign with the Niners, and you'll find out right away if Seattle has any interest or not. And I think that's what I think this is the agent fleshing out. He wants to go back to Seattle. He fits there.
How about this? Beyond this story, who's talking about Jamal Adams anymore, right?
Well, he's really an interesting player, and he's a polarizing player. I know I've talked to Greg Cosell many times in the past, and it's like you could see that he wanted. Greg doesn't like to rip anybody, but it's like he badly wanted to say this guy's vastly overrated. Right. And it's just like he's an interesting player in that he's not a coverage player. I mean, this is a coverage league as far as safety play is concerned, and he's playing safety, and he's not a coverage player. He's not even really an awesome run player. What he is he's a blitzer and he's a pass rusher. He's a pass rushing safety. That's kind of what he's best at. He gets a lot of hits on the quarterback. He's got great instincts when to shoot gaps. He's kind of a roll the dice and shoot gaps, and sometimes come away with tackles for loss on the running back, sometimes coming away with sacks on the quarterback. But as far as consistency, I don't think he's a very consistent player. Now, could the Niners potentially have interest in him as some kind of replacement for Dre Greenlaw, because they do go smaller? Most of the Niner linebackers are, the Flanagan Fowles converted safety, Jalen Graham, D. Winters. These guys are about 220, 225. They're smaller guys. They're not necessarily, they're not the 250-pound Matt Millen plugger with the neck roll. They're much more a coverage. They're coverage guys. And so maybe they look at Jamal Adams in their defense. And who knows, Staley may like him for whatever reason, but maybe they look at him as a replacement for
As a
Greenlaw, as a
linebacker.
stacked backer. Maybe they look at him as a kind of a combo. Maybe they want to go like a 3 safety look and throw Adams out there as kind of the cover, as kind of the rundown player who does what he does best. Read the defense, look for a gap, shoot a gap, delayed blitz on the quarterback. The Niners have not been very good, not a very good blitzing team. And this is a great bit blitzing player. So in a lot of ways, that's interesting. But my instincts tell me that he wants to go back to Seattle and he's just trying to get them to move.
Well, and I would much rather see what Mustafa has at safety than what Adams has left, right? They drafted an intriguing safety. So I think
drafted actually, and I was watching a video last night, the undrafted kid that they got from Vanderbilt. I forget his name, but the undrafted safety they signed from Vanderbilt is a pretty good player in his own right.
Jalen Mahoney.
Yeah, Jalen Mahoney. So don't sleep on him. He's a decent coverage safety. And Renardo Green, who played corner at Florida State, he also had a couple of years there where he played free safety. So Renardo Green could be in the mix at free safety. So, yeah, I mean, the Niners have given themselves options at safety. Mustafa was one of their great picks. I mean, he covers like a, free safety and can play that deep middle in a cover 3, and he can play man-to-man. And he also is a violent hitter who's super aggressive. So in a lot of ways, I think he might be the starter, especially if Hufanga is not healthy at the beginning of the year, which there's reason to believe he may not be. You may have a Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa combo going in the secondary to start the year.
Larry, who was it in sports who said at the end of the day, we're rooting for laundry? Can we attribute that quote to anyone? Do we know who said that first?
Yeah, I forget who said it, but I think it was said in regards to baseball.
Yeah, well, but it really can apply to all sports. I mean, we're rooting for laundry, and this is why we really care about uniforms. I'll be criticizing a uniform choice or design change, and someone will be like, "Why do grown men care about uniforms?" And I'm like, "What planet are you living on? The uniform is literally maybe the most sacrosanct direct tie that fans have to loving a franchise other than geography. People fucking love uniforms. Baseball, basketball, football, uniforms matter an awful, awful lot, which is surprising that a little story about a uniform change, which is nothing short of the single biggest uniform change in NFL history, has been okayed for this upcoming year. Larry, have you seen the story that the NFL is going to allow the Guardian cap to be worn in game? We saw
Guardian cap. What do you mean? Are you talking about that foam thing?
Yes. Have you not seen the story? The NFL will allow Guardian caps in game. Players at position wearing caps in training camp have seen a 52% decrease in concussions, according to the league. We've seen them pop up at training camps over the last 2 years. It's pretty much mandated that anyone whose hand is in the dirt at training camp wears a Guardian cap. If you are an offensive or defensive lineman, chances are you've already adopted the training camp Guardian cap, but they're going to be allowed in game.
Is it going to be the same thing, or is it? I mean, because the ones they wear in practice are just foam, and they're not, and they don't have the helmet. They don't have any insignia on it.
Well, I think they're going to go ahead and design them to, be reminiscent of the helmet. The 49er logo will probably be emblazoned on there somehow, some way, and it'll be gold, and it won't just be this beige, pillowy looking thing. I'm guessing they're going to make it look like the uniform. But this is a big change, and I'm going to tell you right now, any player out there certainly has the right to make the choice to, surround himself with as much protection as possible. But this is an inherently unsafe sport. And I do think that there is going to be, if you're going to see guys wear Guardian caps, there's going to be a group of guys in this league that are hunting out dudes who wear Guardian caps and labeling them as not as tough as I am. That'll
Well,
happen.
I mean, I think what you're going to see, my guess, is that you're going to see guys who had concussions that are coming back, maybe wear them for a few weeks. That would be my guess. But we already have seen, I mean, you've seen George Kittle's helmet. You've seen Nick Bosa's helmet.
Yep.
Those are not
helmets
the
come with
same
extra forehead.
Right. Those helmets are not the same helmets as some other guys are wearing. There's more protection in those helmets. So obviously players want to protect their head long term, which is in their interest, and you would think in the league's interest. But I would think you would see more of those kinds of helmets over the Guardian cap. The fact that they're going to use the foam Guardian cap is that's really dramatic. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean,
I'm guessing why
it
can't
won't look as cool?
No, why can't they get that Guardian cap inside the helmet? I guess is my question. How come it has to be on the outside? Why can't it be padding built on the inside? It feels like NFL helmet manufacturers are ceding their responsibility to protect the player's head to the Guardian cap. Like it's time to invent. I mean, we got.
How big is the helmet going to be, though? I mean, if you add stuff inside, now you've got a gigantic helmet.
Well, that's the thing, but it would still look better if it were just a helmet. I mean, look, at some point, you're Spaceballs out there, right?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I think, we've all understood that the hitting and the violence in football is a guilty pleasure. As fans, we love watching the speed. We like watching the collisions. I mean, come on, that's the. And if you say you don't, you're wrong. Come on, you say you love. Everybody loves the big hits. Everybody loves the collisions. There's nobody who's like, oh, I hate the big hits. No, come on. Everybody loves a big hit in football. That's why they show it on the highlight reel. That's what they call it, a highlight reel, because people watch big hits.
Right. The NFL was actually encouraged to stop producing like the end of the year big woo hits video because they wanted less emphasis and fan admiration attached to these decleating hits.
Yeah, I mean, it happened during the NFL primetime in the late era there with Tom Jackson and Chris Berman, where, they used to have that, that whatever it was called, Lights Out or whatever their little sponsored segment was. And they just ended it because it was like, oh, we don't want to highlight the violence. But the fans love the violence. So, what has made the NFL popular? Gambling, appointment television, and violence.
Mm-hmm.
You know where you can find it, and you can wager on it, and then the violence. And now they've taken the violent part out of the game and made it's still violent, but it's not as violent.
It'll never be safe. Football will never be good for a single person playing in it. That goes for like Pop Warner and high school levels. So you get all the way to the pros. The only reason to continue doing this is the incredible financial reward that could be yours. And you are literally making the deal with the devil that I'm trading quality years off the back end of my life to live in a mansion today.
I mean, there's different ways to approach this. I would approach it differently. I would try to offer lifetime medical to everybody who plays it down. So then you can look everybody in the eye and say, you know what? We know our game is inherently violent, but we take care of our own. If you play it down in the NFL, you have lifetime medical.
Right. I'm guessing
obviously that would cost a lot of money.
Helmets.
It would cost a lot of money, but you know what? Then at least you're on the right side of the argument. You're like acknowledging that it's violent and you're doing literally everything that you can to take care of your players. That's one. Two, I have no problem with doing what they've done, which is take the schedule from 14 games to 16 games to 17 games to 18 games. They're eventually going to have a 20-game season. Roger Goodell says he doesn't like the preseason. They're going to eliminate the preseason altogether. Have like, dual practices and teams practicing together instead, and take the schedule from 16, or what is it now, 17 games in 18 weeks, and they're going to make it, and then 3 preseason games. They're going to take that down, and they're going to make it probably like either 1 preseason game and make these guys play 20 regular season games.
There's no half measures right now. Don't even jerk around going to 18 games. Eliminate the preseason. Give us 20 regular season games.
Okay, but the point is this. They need to do it with more bodies. Like, they've increased the practice squad to like 16 or 20. They really need to increase the practice squad to more like 25 or 30 and have more bodies sharing the,
60 men dressed on game day. 60.
More people dressing on game day, and more bodies taking the punishment, so that Drake, so that the culture in the sport isn't that Drake Greenlaw's hurt, but he plays the rest of the year hurt. No, take hurt players, get them off the field, and replace them with other players. Have deeper rosters. The money's there. And if you have deeper rosters, now you have, instead of 53-man rosters, maybe you make them 75-man rosters. Maybe instead of 48 up on game day, or 46 or whatever it is, maybe it's 50 or more. And you just spread that violence around to more bodies, and you offer lifetime medical. To me, that's a way better. And if you want to incorporate safer helmets and all kinds of things, do it. But I'll say this. I don't love the idea of the foam up front. I mean, that's just really taking, that's not, it doesn't look good. It doesn't, it's like, is it better for the players? Yeah. But I mean, is there another way we could do this that would make it better for the players? I don't know. To me, it's like you've taken the violence, a lot of the violent hits out of the game, and made it less dynamic. I mean, the game's less dynamic than it used to be. There's no kickoff returns for the most part. They've eliminated that. You just don't have the monster hits. And I guess we should celebrate that. Maybe it was a guilty pleasure, but to me, it was one of the things that made the NFL the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not going to celebrate the elimination of exciting plays. Now, maybe, the argument can be made that the kickoff became a ceremonial touchback to such a great degree that this will actually create more action in the return game than it will subtract action.
So that's new rules you're talking about?
That's the one thing that the new hybrid kickoff has going for it, is that the old kickoff basically became as totally ceremonial as the point after touchdown before they moved it back to the 30-yard line.
It was no different to me. The kickoff in recent years is the equivalent of a radio PSA in the middle of a stop set. It's like all of a sudden you go to a commercial, you're listening to a radio show, and they come back for like a PSA, or they come back to like have the host say, "Stay tuned for more. We got this," and a little teaser, and they're really just breaking up the commercial break. That's really all the kickoffs have done. It's like touchdown news series in between. You're going to group commercials, and now you're grouping them going into and out of the kickoff. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just become this like advertising thing. I mean, there's no use for the play at all. If you're watching the sport and you don't know the origins of how the thing evolved, you're sitting there going, well, what is the exact purpose of the kickoff play? It's like, what are we doing here? Everybody's lining up and running down the field, but somebody kicks it through the back of the end zone, and then we just automatically, the offense comes out. It's like if you're a special team coverage guy, how many times are you actually covering, as opposed to you're just getting a nice wind sprint down the field?
SF Indigo in the chat says, lifetime medical for all the players would be creating a giant pool of adverse selection. Not sure how many people understand the liability of lifetime medical and what it is. Well, I'm not sure you understand the amount of money that comes with $25 billion in annual profit.
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? This is the most burgeoning industry in America. There is no industry in America like the NFL where the total pie jumps from 14 million to 14 billion to 25 billion in like a decade. You know,
Right.
the thing is growing at a record rate. It had mom and pop roots, but it's no longer has mom and pop roots, and it's big, 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 big business, and it's an image issue that they have right now. It's like, well, it's a violent game. It's inherently violent. Are you doing everything you can to take care of your players? Right now, the NFL's got to be like, well, this kind of shell game of bullshit.
Right.
Instead, this would be a way they could look their fans in the eye and say, yeah, yep, we know our game's inherently violent, and every guy who plays it down in the NFL gets lifetime medical. Yeah, would it cost a boatload? Yeah, but guess who's got a boatload of cash? Them.
Right. Here's the honest to God's truth is actually being told. The NFL doesn't care about its players or its safety any more than the good PR that it actually gets them. And that's really not the PR that they seek. So it's the NFL. I've always said the NFL would crash an airplane into a children's hospital if it meant $1 billion more in the next TV deal. The amount of giving a fuck about people, their safety, their happiness, their health, the NFL cares not for any of it. They can pretend, they can create the illusion, but it is as savage a cutthroat business and industry as there is in the world. And again, there are a lot of solutions that could make the game safer for the players, and none of them are ever really put in place. It's all performative. It's all, oh, you got a little dribble, here's a napkin. They're not about to.
I mean, the NFL doesn't even they've even haven't even crested the hill as far as their popularity. I mean, they keep allowing other companies and other entities to jump in on secondary football when all they have to do to create a very, very successful secondary football league is use the branding they already have. The Commanders have a team. The Niners have a team. The Lions have a team. Do you know how popular football is? Football is enormously popular. You know how many people watch the draft? Tons. The NFL has more people engaged in it in the off season than baseball has in season. If they had a spring league that it was the Niners, team against the Eagles team, guess what? Niners fans would watch because those guys are future Niners.
Right. You'd be following minor league
football would beat out baseball.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
If you just took away the XFL, said, get out of here. Take away the UFL and all these USFL and all these secondary leagues that don't work with teams that nobody cares about, that have no affiliation to your team.
Call NFL players, Junior.
Just grow your practice squads to 90 men and let the back half of the team play in the spring. You've got 90 men rosters, and you've got a spring league, and you've got a developmental league for Trey Lance and for all these quarterbacks that come into the league that have talent, but haven't done it. You've got a proving ground for young announcers, for young coaches, for young executives. You've got this entity that's dominating the spring. People would watch NFL football. I mean, it's a weekly thing. I mean, the people are used to watching football on the weekends. And so they start watching it in late August, and then all of a sudden the college football starts in September, and you've got college football and pro football. It goes until literally the second week of February, and then it's dormant. Well, all you got to do is create a spring league, like a minor league, and take your back end of the roster, guys who have just been not playing at all, and let them play. Add a few more guys that, to each team to fill out the teams, and play the Niners AAA team plays the Eagles AAA team, and it's on a Saturday. Do you want to watch that, or do you want to watch the Giants score no runs against the Pirates? You know what I mean?
Scoring no runs against the Red Sox is what they did yesterday, Larry, at Fenway.
But I'm just saying, I'm saying? It's like that would sell. I mean, it's people. You think people, support laundry and root for laundry? They absolutely do. And that all these secondary leagues that that have made their try, they all have uniforms that aren't familiar, branding that's not familiar. By the time people get familiar with the branding, the league's out of business. So nobody's even invested in it. They're like, you know what? We'll wait to see which secondary league actually has some staying power before we invest anything in it. The Arena League did a decent job for a while. But overall, if you just got the Niners and the Cowboys and you take all the same uniforms and make them look a little bit different or whatever, but
hey, and let them play in their home stadiums.
Right, let them play
half price tickets.
half price tickets to your to your season ticket base. Hey, not only do you get 16, 17 games or whatever, half of that home games for the Niners, you're also getting half price tickets on all of Niner 2 spring games. And then you got more games in the springtime for those stadiums, more work for everybody. I mean, you've increased the roster size. You've now got a minor league. Now you don't have to have Michael Penix sitting for 4 years. You don't have to have Trey Lance sitting for 4 years. They can go and develop. Right now, there's nowhere to develop. You can develop in college, then you come to the pros, and you got to either play or you got to sit. So you can't develop in practice. You got to play.
So, varsity, junior varsity. There you go. NFL varsity, NFL junior varsity.
Yeah, JV Niners going up. I mean, I'd watch it. I'd absolutely watch it.
Hell yeah. You would have people drifting away from their college football interests to watch the JV team associated with whatever NFL team they root for. Without a doubt.
I'd apply to be the general manager of the JV team. Start trading JV players into other teams. No, but I mean, I think that's really the solution on a lot of fronts. That's a whole nother revenue base, a whole nother second season that the NFL could dominate. And it would dominate. That's the other thing. It's not like, well, would it work? No, it would work.
By the way,
there'll be NBA playoff fans. There'll be NHL playoff fans. There'll be baseball fans. But guess what? We're only talking about a sport that plays once a week anyway. So, yeah, I'm a big Giants fan. I'm a big NBA playoff fan. You're still a big Giants fan. You're still an NBA playoff fan. But on Saturday night in the springtime, you're watching your JV Niners play a JV schedule of 6 or 7 games so they can develop. I think it's the future.
Only because you brought him up with the joke of the getting shut out. The Giants did get shut out at Fenway yesterday, but I think what bothered me the most is there was some sports writer in Boston, a woman that was retweeted by Susan Slesser, who was like, "It's so special watching Mike Yastrzemski at Fenway." Is it?
Good. Trade him there.
Is it that special to watch a 33-year-old dude whose grandfather used to be around here hit 228? I mean, everybody's just got to get this whole Mike Yastrzemski thing out of their mind.
It's special for them because the Giants haven't been there since 2019, pre-pandemic. So I get it. And he homered there last time. And obviously, Yaz. I mean, this is just a Boston honk, right, trying to make a midweek, a May series with the Giants into something more than it is.
4 years ago was something to talk about. First time coming back into Fenway.
Let's
now,
be honest, he stinks.
It's over. It's over for Mike Yastrzemski.
I mean, Slater and Yaz, please just quit. Just quit. Those guys are done. I mean, Yaz has gotten it going recently, but I mean, how about the Giants off season? They paid big money to Blake Snell. He's absolutely garbage. Now that on the DL, can't pitch at all.
The best starts he's given the Giants are the ones that he's missed.
Right. You sent Casey Schmidt to the minor leagues in a year where you're supposedly rebuilding because you had to have Matt Chapman. What's Matt Chapman hitting?
Matt Chapman today is hitting 222 with a 266 on base, Larry.
Yeah, you telling me that Casey Schmidt couldn't hit 222? I think he could. You could have saved all that money. So you wasted money on Chapman. You got taken to the cleaners by Boris on Snell. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. Jung-Hoo Lee I've had people say, I will not listen to you until you apologize for your incorrect take. All I said was, you know what? Everybody else was like, Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be Ichiro. I'm like, you know what? $19 million is an awful lot for a KBO hitter, considering outside of Shin-Soo Choo, there hasn't been one KBO hitter or alum who's ever done anything in the big leagues. The guy gets off to kind of a little bit of a quick start, and then all of a sudden it's like people are, you need to apologize for your Jung-Hoo Lee take.
Well, look, honestly,
what's Jung-Hoo Lee hitting right now?
He's the least of their problems. He actually puts together decent at-bats.
He's not bad, but they're paying him $19 million.
Right, and he's hitting 259 with a 322 on base.
259. What's his on base?
322.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad. That's the thing.
He's a good center fielder. I like Jung-Hoo Lee. I will admit, let's just do this. I'll admit that he's better than I thought. If you guys will all admit that he ain't fucking Ichiro, and then if he hits 250, that's not going to be a good thing. You paid him $19 million a year. Right. That's what Yordan Alvarez is getting from the Astros. That's what Corbin Carroll, who's off to a slow start,
well, I don't want to hear
getting from the Diamondbacks. But I mean, Yordan Alvarez, we're talking about a big time middle of the order guy. The Giants gave Jung-Hoo Lee $19 million a year for 6 years. They guaranteed him $113 million.
He could be hitting third tonight, Larry. He could be your middle of the order guy. I mean, come on.
259.
There's only one offseason.
He's on pace for 12 home runs and 9 stolen bases.
There's one offseason move that has lived up to expectations, and there's one offseason move that has absolutely exceeded expectations. Jordan Hicks has been fantastic. Jordan Hicks right now is the best story on the San Francisco
Which is funny
Giants.
because some people rip that.
Right.
There were people like, Jordan Hicks, but he's actually been good.
He's been really good. Logan Webb, he's doing what we expect him to do, and that's really good.
Keaton Wynn's been good.
Yep. Look, Jorge Soler, right?
Soler, yeah, I like him.
We knew he wasn't going to hit much. We knew he was going to strike out a lot, but he's got to hit home runs, and he's tied with Conforto with 5 home runs. But we're way too deep into his season.
Conforto's been pretty good. I mean,
we're way too deep into a season.
Where's Elliot Ramos? Where's Luis Matos? Where's you're leaning on Yaz? What's Yaz hitting? What's Slater hitting? These guys are hitting nothing. Slater led off the other day. He's hitting like 104 or something.
103, Larry. 104.
103.
It's like a mountain.
It's like a fucking radio station.
103. By the way, he's hitting 103. He's slugging 103.
I mean, what the hell? And Elliot Ramos is in the minor leagues going, what do I need to do? Why do the Giants hate me so much? Luis Matos, I mean, what's he doing? They don't have they can't find an outfielder better than Yaz or Slater. And they guaranteed those guys like $7 or $8 million guaranteed. So I don't know. I mean, the Giants, once again, I said this in the offseason. I said they've got enough pitching. Their defense is okay, but they can't hit. They cannot hit. They can't win a game 6-5. They have to win 3-2, 2-1, 4-3. If it gets into like 6-5, 7-6, 8-7, no, they're done. They're cooked. But I mean, I like Jung-Hoo Lee as far as he plays center field with confidence. He's got way more bat speed than I thought he would have. I thought he would get blown away by velocity. He's not blown away by velocity. But he's not worth $19 million a year.
Well, he might. I mean, here's the thing. He might be. Like
it's 285.
I've seen enough of Jung-Hoo Lee to officially be interested. What he looks like 2 years into his career. He's the least of their problems.
People acted after a couple weeks like, this is what he is. There are guys around the big leagues. They're called advanced scouts. And they hone in on your tendencies and they find out what you can't do. And then all you do is get a steady diet of pitches you can't handle. And that's a process. And it takes like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. It takes somewhere between a month and 2 months.
It's adjusting to the book.
Right. So gets the book coming up with the Jung-Hoo Lee. This is how you get him out. Like there's like a book circulating around the big leagues. How do you get Jung-Hoo Lee out? Well, if they've adjusted to him, I mean, he's hitting 259. and he's not a power hitter, and he's not a stolen base guy. So it's like he's a good center fielder, and he's a decent contact hitter. And he's got a little bit of bat speed. I mean, to me, he would have been worth 3 years, 30 million, maybe 4 years, 40 million, if you wanted to give him, a 4-year deal. 6 years at 19 million a year. That's overpaid.
Well, my only question there, because an everyday major leaguer, it's about 20 million a season. It's not that abstract. It really isn't. Who are you bidding against? Who was coming? Who had an $18.5 million contract for Jung-Hoo Lee that you had to go to 19 to get?
Right. I mean, you got taken by Boris. There's no doubt. Probably with the promise that, hey, man, I'll send Snell your way later in this offseason if you take care of my guy here. But now, I mean, Snell's been awful. Chapman's been awful. Jung-Hoo is okay, but he's the ignition at the top of the lineup in a lineup that's scored like less runs than almost everybody, but like 2 or 3 teams in the league. So, I mean, their offense is just not there. Now, if the Giants could add Polar Bear or add, Luis Arias, they need to add a couple more bats. They need to figure out a way to DFA Slater, DFA Yaz, get either some bats out of their minor league system or some new bats in trades.
Hey, do you think they can trade?
You can't be bad offensively in the outfield. There's too many good offensive outfielders. They traded Joey Bart. He's kicking ass in Pittsburgh.
Right. Meanwhile, your backup catcher Tom Murphy is an 074 hitter.
Farhan's off season. Tom Murphy, Matt Chapman, Blake Snell, Jung-Hoo Lee. Right now, Jung-Hoo Lee's the shining star of his off season, and Hicks.
Well, that's why he's making the big bucks, Larry.
Yeah. But the
shining star of the Giants season is DJ Umami in the light show for Camilo Duvall's entrance for the save situations. He's not even presented at home these days.
Cool, but it's a little much.
Ooh, the orange lights are flickering.
It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. They're just copying the Padres. They're just copying the Padres who did what they did. But once again, it's like, we're supposed to, Farhan's the smartest guy in the room. And yet people like myself were saying, don't go after Matt Chapman. Just play Casey Schmidt. Matt Chapman hasn't hit 250 in 5 years. Just go with Casey Schmidt. He's also a good defensive player. He won't cost you tens of millions of dollars. And you can look your fans in the eye and say that we're rebuilding. But, they won't. They refuse to go with Luciano. They had to go with, Nick Ahmed. They refused to go with Casey Schmidt. They had to go with, Matt Chapman. And, the Giant mouthpiece has told us millions of times how awesome this is. And now Chapman's in a funk and he can't get a hit. And it's like, all right, and it's like everything that's the one thing I love about baseball is it all shakes out in the end. You know what I mean? You can be a suck ass and tell everybody that the Giants are awesome, but guess what? That 162 is staring you in the face, baby. And you got to play the games, and you got to actually put, you can watch 3 Jung-Hoo Lee games and have them have a couple, 1 home run and sit there and take the victory parade. Krug, you're so freaking wrong about Jung-Hoo Lee. Really? He's hitting 259. You're paying him $19 million. And you think it's going to go up? You think he's going to be like, by the end of the year, he's going to be at 295? Or is the league going to adjust to him and he's going to get worn down by the long season and he's going to hit 242? So, he's got it. When you're paying a guy $19 million, he's got to hit 285.
By the way, there's question. Why are you bringing up Joey Bart? Well, Joey Bart, as soon as he joined the Pirates, got off to a great start. And he was actually, his average was around 300. But he's hit 3 home runs. Like, Joey Bart has already been better with the Pirates than at any point in time that he has been with the San Francisco Giants. And
And he's not playing that much. It's not like he's playing every day in Pittsburgh. You could have played him. I mean, once again, did you need Tom Murphy or could you have gone with Joey Bart? You could have gone with Joey Bart. Did you need Matt Chapman? Could you have gone with Casey Schmidt? You could have gone with Casey Schmidt. Did you need Nick Ahmed or could you have gone with with Marco Luciano? It's like, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at these guys and I'm thinking to myself, did they need almost any of the guys that they got? And they're still a bad offensive club.
Larry, the only thing funnier than Joey Bart actually giving the Pirates a little bit of pop, by the way, Joey Bart's 3 home runs would only be trailing Solar and Conforto as the Giants home run leaders. But what's even funnier than Joey Bart looking good with the Pirates is right now the Pirates' leading hitter in batting average is Connor Joe.
Wow.
Connor Joe, who again,
when he played for the Giants, he faced forward. Remember that? Instead of being a hitter who's over here, he literally had his bat in front of his face.
Right. He looked like a samurai.
He looked like he was waiting to get hit by the pitch, or I don't know. He was so messed up here.
Last thing to get to here, Larry, is just we got a hell of a game last night out of the Sixers and the Knicks. That was a fun one. Sixers win at Madison Square Garden, send everybody who wanted to come to the Garden to party home going, oh, shit, here we go. So Maxey was incredible last night. Like, that guy hit more big shots in one game.
People were just hating Joel Embiid, huh?
What do you mean? Well, I mean,
people are screaming at him, yelling at him. He's been disappointing. People are talking about him being traded. And
he also said, I got a
all these Warrior trades, and
he also said, I got a migraine. So the everyone I think at the Garden was trying to give him a headache. But we are looking at an NBA playoffs that is missing the 3 biggest faces in the sport because Curry didn't even reach the technical playoffs. LeBron has been bounced. Kevin Durant got swept. Those are like the 3 faces of the league in terms of the old guys and the old guard. And now the LeBron offseason, and what is he going to do next? Is he going back to the Lakers? Might the Warriors be interested? And I was in the car yesterday, just flipping around, got a little both, I was hearing KNBR and the Game talking about it. And, forget about LeBron's age. Forget about it. If he were a Golden State Warrior this upcoming season, he's the second best player on the team. That's the only thing you would need to know. He's the second best Golden State Warrior if he were a Golden State Warrior. So the whole I would never want LeBron on the Warriors.
Well, I don't want him on the. I mean, it's just like anything. Do you want the most hated player on the rival team that your team goes against to be on your team? I don't. I don't want LeBron cherry picking more titles. He's already got more titles than he deserves.
Does he?
Every time he does anything, people are like, he's better than Jordan. No, he's not better than Jordan. No. And I don't want him on my team. I don't want LeBron on the team.
You're nuts.
And the Warriors, by the way, are 4-1 favorites to land him. The Warriors. These are the odds on LeBron's next team if he's not a Laker. Warriors 4-1, Cavs are 5-1, Knicks are 6-1. Bulls are 7-1, Sixers are 8, and Miami's 9. I do not want LeBron James because I know the way this is going to work. You're going to have to give up Jonathan Kuminga to the Lakers. So now you're going to give the Lakers some awesome young athlete who's 21 or 19 or whatever age he is, and they're going to have him for the next decade. And the Warriors are going to have a couple failed attempts at a title with LeBron. And then we're going to get to watch Kuminga be a Laker for the next decade. I don't want to see that. I don't want. If you're giving me LeBron James for Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul, fine, we'll do it. But I'm not giving you Jonathan Kuminga. I just saw a trade from Bleacher Report. They're like, this will rekindle the Warrior dynasty. And it was the Warriors getting Mikal Bridges in a deal that sent Wiggins and Kuminga and multiple 1s and 2s. And I'm like, no way, no freaking way do I want to see the Warriors trade all those assets for Mikal Bridges. Nor do I believe that Mikal Bridges is somehow going to make the Warriors champion. They're not winning jack with Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges is an interesting player, but he's not
okay.
Look, LeBron James is still one of the 10 best players in basketball. I don't care how old he is. He is an on-court force of nature every single game he's out there.
Isn't the whole two-timeline thing, Damon, about not
there's no two-timeline thing anymore. It's over. That's not
happening. But wasn't the whole argument for the two-timeline because the Warriors have this opulent arena and they can't afford to shut it down for like 5 years, 6 years and rebuild? They need people coming through the turnstiles. If you trade Kuminga and all your assets for old man LeBron James, 2 years from now, you're going to be looking at the ghost town of ghost towns, and you're still going to charge $50 for 3 tall boys. Really? You're going to get $50 for 3 beers?
Yeah.
That's what they're getting now.
Yeah, they will.
But nobody's going to go. Nobody's going to go in 2 years when Steph's gone, Clay's gone, LeBron's gone, and the Warriors are just a total awful team that has no assets and is 5 years away from doing anything.
Who's paying $50 for 3 tall boys for Jonathan Kuminga? Again, not
right now. I mean, the Warriors draw pretty well.
Very interesting. I like Jonathan Kuminga. I wouldn't want to let him go. Jonathan Kuminga.
Would you trade him for LeBron? I would not.
In a fucking heartbeat. What are you kidding? Dude, it's LeBron James.
Dude, how old is LeBron? That's like saying Tom Brady. LeBron James is old
right now. In his LeBron James will.
Are they winning a title with LeBron James? I don't believe that. Do you?
LeBron James will probably put up better numbers in the final year of his career than Jonathan Kuminga will in any year of his career.
But LeBron James is how old?
I don't care. It's time to get one more drop of blood out of the Steph Curry rock. That's all they're trying to do.
Yeah, but that's the wrong thing to do because that's going to deliver really, really, really bad teams for like 5-6 years.
Stop
playing this game. Stop doing this. Stop playing this game. They need to divest themselves of some of their players and get more young assets and build and find young players. You know, there is no. That's how they won last time. That's how they're going to win next time. They're not going to win by getting some old guy to come for one last year. They're not winning. They're not beating the Denver. LeBron just got swept. Almost. I mean, they had some mercy game at the end, but essentially they got swept. They went down 3-0 or 0-3 to the Nuggets. The Nuggets just
fault. Look at the other 12 Los Angeles Lakers. Not LeBron.
But I mean, so I mean, LeBron is how old is LeBron? He's almost 40.
Yeah, he'll be 39, I believe.
No, I'm not trading Jonathan Kuminga for a 40-year-old player. I mean, what don't you like about Jonathan Kuminga? He's getting better every year. He's 19.
I like Jonathan Kuminga an awful lot.
Well, 2 years from now, he's going to be 21.
All right.
2 years from now, LeBron's going to be 41.
Right.
You can't trade Kuminga for
better numbers.
But you can't. If they want to move LeBron, if LeBron wants to get out of there, if LeBron wants to come to the Warriors, I really don't want to see it because one, I can't stand LeBron. I think I hate the way he flops. I hate, somebody brushes his face. Oh, he goes down. He's just so.
Steph Curry's never taken a dive. He's never fallen down when he shoots a 3. Steph Curry falls down at most 3s.
LeBron just has these dramatic. I just don't like LeBron. I mean, I've been conditioned to not like LeBron because I don't like LeBron. He stole a title from the Warriors. I don't want to. He doesn't deserve all the titles that he has. I can't stand the whole comparison to Jordan. He's not as good as Jordan, and I don't want him on my team. And I definitely don't want him on my team if I have to give away my good young assets. Now,
all right. Well, you got to get out of your feelings there, pal.
No, it's called being normal. And who would want to trade? Do you want to trade a great young player who's a lottery pick and has tons of talent for some old, decrepit player who's not going to help you win a title? You're not beating Denver with LeBron and Curry. You're not. So, I mean, Joe's dreaming it because he's thinking of turnstiles. But you know what? As soon as Curry and LeBron are done, you're totally cooked for like a long, long time. If you stay with Kuminga and you build up your young players, you have a young core. You have Kuminga, you have Pods, you have Trace Jackson Davis. You have some young players. Build around your young players.
When the Steph Curry era ends, it's a screeching halt, and there is no player that you're going to add to prevent that. In the history of the NBA, great teams at the end of their greatness do not keep on being great. It never has happened. It never will happen. The Warriors will bottom out. You can't prevent that from happening. So
there's no guarantee that I don't believe that LeBron James added to this team is going to make them a title contender. I don't. I think it'll make them more interesting until they fall out of it, but then they're going to crash and burn in a terrible way.
Okay, well, if they just return the team that they had last year, they aren't a title contender either.
They're not, but that's okay. They've had their run. It's over. I mean, know when it's over. Don't be the old guy in the club. That's what the Warriors would be if they got LeBron James. They're literally the old guy in the club hanging out, trying to pretend he's 22. You're not 22.
Yeah,
it's not your time. It's OKC's time.
Every single night,
it's Minnesota's time.
The club. Like that old dude is still pulling crazy skirt.
Yeah, but you know what? You blew it. You should have figured out a way to get Anthony Edwards. Instead, you took James Wiseman and then traded him a year later for GP2.
Well, they couldn't.
The run is done, man.
First pick in the draft, and they had the second pick in the draft.
I'm just saying you should have maneuvered to get the player. I mean, there was a good player that went before you. There was a good player that went after you, and you took a guy who sucked. And that was your moment. So you're done. They're done. It's over. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to get it. They're not going to run it back next year and win the title. That Steph Curry thing where he said to Klay Thompson, "Hey, we're not done." Yes, you are. Yes, you are done. You are done. And you're not. Denver's all in their prime. You're beating them next year. You're going to be better than Jokic next year. I mean, the only way the Warriors are winning is if they have some miraculous offseason and two of the teams above them just crash and burn. I mean, in the middle of the year. So, I mean, it's like, what are we talking about here? I mean, it's like, let's get real. Do what everybody else does. Go get assets. Move Draymond for assets. Let Clay go. Try to see if you can get some asset for Chris Paul. Build your assets. Try to win that way. If the Lakers were willing to take, a draft choice, Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins, that's fine. But that's not what they're going to want. They're going to want all their young assets and many draft picks for a player that isn't going to win you the title. And then it's just going to make your fall. It's just going to make your downtime be even that much longer. I mean, what do you want? What are you looking for? You're looking for half a season of, wow, it's exciting, Steph and LeBron together, or, as they're taking all kinds of rest and not what they were. And it's like, no, it's a young man's league. Look at the league. Look around at the league and make the adjustment. OKC's young. Minnesota's young. You need to have young players. That's what you need. Again, that's how Sam Presti built
the Warriors how do they materialize this young, incredible, fictitious player that you're talking about? And I can tell you, whoever that young player is next year, he ain't going to be better than LeBron James.
You have to draft your way to winning titles. There's no team that signs their way to winning titles. You have to draft your way. They drafted Draymond Green. They're going to have to. They drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Harrison Barnes
and Trace Jackson Davis. That's a pretty good draft there.
You got to keep drafting. You got to keep drafting young players and hit. I mean, you're already in an era where you could find a great young player in the second round. You could find a great young player in the later half of the first round. I mean, you're already in an era where it's all the players coming into the league are speculative talents. So it's all about your scouting. If you have good scouts, there's good players to be had out there. It's like, I don't want to, when I was a Giants fan, I didn't want to be like, hey, you know what? Just go sign Steve Garvey. No, go find your own Steve Garvey. And it's like the same thing. Do you just should the Niners just go sign Aaron Donald? Well, no. Now he's retired, but what have you one last year of Aaron Donald? No, go draft your own Aaron Donald. And that's what I would say to the Warriors. Go find your own great player. I'd rather go try to find the next great young player. And it's fine. And these guys are out there. It's not like you need lottery picks to win in the NBA, but you need to get real about where you're at. I don't want LeBron. I really don't. I know Joe does, because Joe's got this opulent arena that's enormously expensive, and he's looking for people to go through the turnstiles. But they would fall off, it's like they would fall off where they were the worst team in basketball. They wouldn't just fall off like they're not winning titles. They'd fall off like they're the worst team in the league for like 5-6 years. And then how are your incredibly expensive arena gonna?
Would they win 19 games the year that Curry broke his wrist or whatever? That's what it's going to be. When Curry's off the court, it's gonna be a horror show for several years. And
yeah, but worse if you don't have Kuminga. I mean, Kuminga's a terrific young player. I mean, it's like, why I'm not giving away Kuminga unless I think I'm going to win a title, right. And I'm not winning a title.
No one's spending $3,000 for a courtside seat to watch Jonathan Kuminga. People will spend $4,000 to watch LeBron, and that's
for what? For 32 games, for 1 year. I mean, that's just and then what you get bounced in the first round by Sacramento. I mean, you got to get real. They've got to get real. They can't just run it back. I mean, it's over. I mean, it's absolutely over. They can't run it back. They were too young and too old.
Steph Curry.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. LeBron's too old. Curry's too old. You can't be too old or too young, and that's where Golden State is. They're too old, too young. They only have one player, Wiggins, in the prime. If they were smart, they would move Green for a couple players in their prime. They would move Paul, get his contract redone, and move him for a couple players in their prime. Anybody who has any value at all, they should move for either picks or players that are approaching the prime of their career, and then take a chance that Curry's surrounded by guys in their prime. Maybe you could hit on a couple guys.
So the only thing that Larry needs for the Warriors to get better is a fictitious alternate reality that doesn't exist at all, where they're able to add 23-year-old All-Americans from the middle of the first round, where they'll be drafting because they're not.
They don't even have a pick. They need to trade for picks. What do you think Trace Jackson Davis is?
Trace Jackson, miracle that fell in their lap.
Should they not? And that's what they need. And that's what the NBA draft is.
Oh, miracle.
I've looked at the mock draft. Baylor Shireman is a really good shooter. Baylor Shireman is going to be a good NBA player. He's listed at like 56 in the draft. Why? Because it's a speculative draft and people don't really know.
Yeah, he's Timmer for debt, Larry.
He's not. He's 6'7". He's a 6'7". He's a 6'7" marksman. He's one of the best shooters in the in this draft for sure. He's going to play in the league, absolutely. I mean, he's 6'7". He's a 6'7" guy who's got an unbelievable shot. He's going to go in the second round. You're going to have to hit on some guys. Zach Edey's going in the second round. Heck, the two guys that are from Duke, Filipowski, who's a pretty good big man, and the kid from Sacramento, McLean. Those guys are going, they say, in the 20s. So if you can make moves and target the right players,
and none of them will be better than LeBron James next year.
You've got the makings of a team that's getting better. There's no way I want to see them sell Kuminga and picks and others, probably Kuminga and Moody and 2 or 3 draft choices for a guy approaching 40. No way. It's the NBA, man. I'm not taking guys in their 40s. I mean, there is no example that you can point to of anybody who's ever added a 40-year-old player that went on and won a title. It's never
Okay,
happened.
well, there's never been a 40-year-old player this good in the history of maybe professional sports. Like LeBron,
But
might
he's on
not
a
be
good
Michael
team now.
Jordan.
He's on. There's no Anthony Davis here. There's no. I mean, you got Steph, but I mean, they don't. It's not like the Warriors have. They just need LeBron to climb the top. They don't. The assets that they would have to move to get him would ruin the team to begin with.
Larry,
They don't have a good enough team.
He's a free agent.
Well,
What are you talking about? What assets?
Well, but I mean, why is he coming here? I mean, suddenly they've got all this money to spend on him.
No, I don't think he's getting commanding top dollar anymore.
If he wants to take less money to come here, but I would definitely don't want to. I don't want to move the young core. I don't want to move Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, Pajemski, Moody. I don't want to see them. And I don't. And most Warrior fans don't like LeBron for obvious reasons. So, I don't see where where that works. But obviously, there's a lot of people that feel like he's coming here because he's the favorite, or they're the favorite.
Bring him in. Bring him in. I mean, it would only be the most watched Warriors season of all time. And Joe Lacob's looking at that too. So I think there is a chance that it could actually happen. And I don't think it would do anything other than improve the team next year. Now, 3-4 years down the road from now, sorry, sweetheart, I can't promise you anything there. But I promise you they would get better. How dare anyone call me during our program?
I just don't. It's like there's certain players you don't want on your team.
Yeah.
And to me, he's one of them. I mean, he's the guy that you've rooted against. And now you're supposed to be like, yeah, bring him in. Bring him in. I don't want to see. And what is he going to get? Win one more title and claim that he's better than Jordan?
One more title is the only X marks the spot that the Golden State Warriors.
But they're not going to win a title. Come on. Have you watching these NBA playoffs? These teams are deep and athletic and young and talented. You're not going to add old man LeBron to Steph and suddenly they win.
There's not a single team in this playoffs that if LeBron weren't on that team, he's not starting.
Starting, that's fine, but we're talking about winning a title. They're not beating Denver. They just got flushed by Denver. And the Lakers have other players on their roster. It's not like LeBron and nobody.
Well,
they have other players on their roster.
They got beaten by Denver, but I don't know if they got flushed. The Lakers,
it was 3-0.
Right, but the Lakers spent more time leading in that series than the Nuggets were able to hit a
just because the Nuggets played
every game to get it done because they had more closers. You can't ask a 39-year-old LeBron to be your closer, and that's what the Lakers were doing. And they also cooked his book way too much. Darvin Ham was saying, all right, you're going to go out and get the workload of a 23-year-old where if he came to the Warriors, they wouldn't play him like that. They wouldn't treat him like that. So I don't know. Look,
I'm not in the category of, take players that I've rooted against and put them on my team.
I'm in the category of, does this player make you better? If the answer is yes, get your dick out of your heart, sweetie, and just go. That's the way it goes.
It doesn't make you better. It's going to clog minutes that you should be given to Kuminga because that's really your future. I mean, Kuminga is a great young player. Moody's a very good young player. Trace Jackson Davis, a very good big man, and they can go get a couple more players. Go move Draymond for a couple assets. Go move Paul's expiring 30 for a couple assets. Go do it that way. Don't try to quick fix it and run it back with old guys who can't play anymore. I mean,
LeBron is not an old guy who can't play anymore. He's one of the 10 best players in the NBA right now.
He's definitely an old guy.
He's old, but he's one of the 10 best players in the league.
And it ends for everybody. Father Time is undefeated.
Sure.
So
but
I mean,
LeBron is doing
you're not. So how many games did he play this year? And what would you anticipate him playing next year? I mean, I just don't want him on the team because I don't want to root for him. But I also don't want this delusion of the Warriors are really a title contender. They're not. They're not title contenders. There are younger, deeper, better teams, and it's okay. It's all right. You won 4 rings. It was a great run. Now you've got Steph Curry, keep him around. Everybody else, move off of them and find younger assets and turn the thing over. I mean, this refusal to turn the thing over is, For what?
Here's the way.
What was so great about this year that it would have been
the way the entire thing should be handled? Steph, do you want us to go out and get LeBron? If he says yes, you go do it. If he says no, you don't do it. Steph, what do you want? That's how this should really be handled.
Well,
Steph,
I mean,
what do you want?
Steph always is going to have a seat at the table as far as who they go after and who they don't. But be careful when you listen to Steph, because Steph said Avery Bradley over GP2, and Avery Bradley stunk, and GP2 has been a key cog. So you got to hear your players. You don't have to listen to your players.
Yeah, I think you got to listen to Steph at the end. Look, we got to get going. I got to get going. I got a show coming up in 20 minutes, Larry. But good day for it's since the draft has been put to bed. It feels like the NFL news is trickling out slower and slower, and there will be a little lull until we get to a couple Thursdays from now, and we get a schedule. Is that it? Like I think.
Well, there'll be a rookie mini camp coming up, and I'm not sure exactly when it is, but I'll be down there for that, taking a look at the rookies and talking to a number of them. And then that's kind of like the first. Then there'll be a veteran whole squad mini camp. And then they shut it down, and get ready for training camp in July.
Let's go through real quick. Super chats. Kyle Benz, thank you very much. Losing chances for best center in the draft could come back to haunt, but I trust Kyle over Campbell, Sirianni, and Matt LaFleur. Hey, I hope you're right. Kyle. This is PG90. Larry, you saying LeBron doesn't deserve his championships is crazy. Yes, it is.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't deserve his championships. He teabagged Draymond Green, and Draymond Green didn't do anything other than say, "Get off me." And he got suspended. And if he didn't get suspended, he wouldn't have won that title.
Right. They won 4 NBA finals in a row.
Plus, he cherry-picked. He left his
good.
Hometown and went to Miami. I mean, all I'll say is Jordan didn't do that. Jordan didn't chase titles and chase rings. And, well, you know what? I can't win here anymore, so I don't want to be here anymore. I can't win there anymore, so I won't be there anymore. I mean, come on. I mean, he literally formed his own all-star team in Miami. And when that ran into the ground, he jumped again. But to me, the one he absolutely doesn't deserve is when he teabagged Green and got Green suspended for doing nothing, just saying, "Get off me." If you teabag somebody on a basketball court, playing wherever,
get over it, Larry. It's ancient history by now.
I know, but I'm just saying, you're the guy saying he deserves his titles. He didn't deserve that title. What Green did there was absolutely total reciprocal. That would be the minimum. If you try to step over anybody in basketball and you put your balls in their face and they just said, "Hey, get off me." It wasn't like Green stepped up and gave him a 3-piece spicy.
We are our reputations, and unfortunately, that caught up to Draymond in that moment. All right, let's keep going real quick. 49er Talk Show. I agree, Larry. I hate LeBron. If he comes to the Warriors, I'm not a Warriors fan no more. He's a crybaby, and every Warrior fan Warriors will be a walking shadow. And the both of you are out of your fucking minds and shouldn't ever talk basketball. The two of you are just.
I'd rather have Durant come back. At least Durant, was a Warrior. And, to me, if you want to say Kevin Durant come back, I'm more open to that. I don't want the most hated guy on the.
Look at it this way:
on the
Kevin
opposition.
Durant, you have to trade Jonathan Kuminga. For LeBron James, you have to pay him. So that's not happening.
I don't want him.
All right, you're nuts. Larry, love you, but LeBron and AD carried the Lakers. D'Lo was garbage. Rui was nothing. Reeves was quiet. Denver has Murray, Joker, Gordon, Porter, Pope. Yeah, look.
But Rui's in his prime. Reeves is in his prime. AD's in his prime. My point is that.
But they're not good.
They are good. I mean, what are we talking about? Rui had a good year. Reeves had a good year. What are we talking about? I mean, do you guys watch? Those guys had good years this year. Those are good basketball players in their prime. He would be joining a Warrior team that has nobody in their prime. They just have old guys and young guys. The Lakers at least had guys in their prime. Vanderbilt and other guys. Those guys are in the prime of their career.
And LeBron was better than all of them. And by the way, Austin Reeves, 17 points a game. D'Angelo
that's a
Russell,
pretty
15
good
points a
year.
game. Rui, 8 points, 4 rebounds.
Rui played well for them this year. I mean, the Lakers at least have guys in their prime. If he joined the Warriors, once again, the only Warrior in his prime is Andrew Wiggins, and he's
worthless.
Stinks.
Right.
So I mean, I don't want LeBron on the team. I don't want to root for him. I don't want to see him win titles. So I guess I would sit it out if he's a Warrior.
Yeah, but those dudes did nothing in the playoffs. Correct.
Yeah, they did nothing in the playoffs.
All right.
Now he's going to come here. He's going to do awesome things, and suddenly they're going to take down all these young teams. The youth is being served. Look at the NBA. Look at what OKC just did in the first round. Look at the team they've put together with Sam Presti. They got a good team.
LeBron averaged 28, 7, and 9 with 2 steals and a block in just this last postseason.
Nobody says LeBron. Did I say LeBron James stunk? I just said he's too old and I don't like him and I don't want him on my team.
Well,
I don't want him on my team that I root for. I'd rather lose with the guys they have than win 48 games and lose in the second round with LeBron.
Okay, good, because that's what you just signed up for. So remember that. Keep that energy up. Don't complain at all.
I'd rather go organic. I'd rather do it the right way and build a team. You've got 3 or 4 good young players. You need 3. There's only 8 guys in a rotation. Find 3 or 4 more good players. I mean, trade, draft, do it. No shortcuts.
Say the same thing about the Warriors' first ring then. No Kevin Love. Kyrie got hurt. Warriors didn't deserve that. Following your logic, Larry.
What's that?
I don't know. I don't want to. I got to get going here. So I don't even. I got to get running. There it is. There's the show. Here's the Ralph impression. I already did it. Larry didn't pick up what I was putting down because he wants to pretend that the Warriors will be better without LeBron next year.
I don't want LeBron. No to LeBron. No.
I hope it happens just so you don't watch any more Warriors basketball.
I don't want to watch. I definitely don't want to watch it. Nothing's sadder than, it's like an old timers game. Why do I want to watch the old timers game?
Hey, all I can tell you right now, Larry, is that the best.
Because he's going to be better next year, right? Because he'll be better next year.
I ever learned from Ray Ratto is root for yourself. If you want your channel to really grow during next year's not football season, add LeBron James. It would be.
I don't need LeBron James. My channel is going to grow without LeBron James.
It grow fast.
First of all, the NBA season starts in October. We're talking football in October. November, we're talking football in November. December, we're talking football in December. January, we're talking football in January. We've been talking football. I will get bigger numbers talking football than I will talking LeBron James. The only time LeBron James would help me would be right now.
It wouldn't replace what you were doing. It would be there's something in column B.
It would only help if they had an extended playoff run, and I don't believe they would.
Well, it would only help if you knew basketball.
Yeah. Say the one guy who actually played basketball in high school being lectured by you, who never played basketball ever. I coached basketball, ref basketball. I've coached it, refed it.
Yeah.
Come on.
You said an incredible moving screen.
Played it. I could play circles around you.
Yeah, I'm taller than you. I'm going to out-rebound you.
You're not taller than me.
I'm taller than you.
No, you're not.
We'll go back.
I'm 6'2". We'll stand. Okay, fine. No, so you're 1 inch taller than me. I could beat you in basketball at 54.
There you go. So you can take down the guy who had a stroke and isn't even coordinated anymore. Larry Krueger.
Could have always beaten you at basketball. I've coached it. I've refed it. I've played it. Come on. I mean, seriously. Don't tell me I don't know basketball. I do know basketball. I'm the one who fucking said that fucking, Dame Lillard was great coming out of Weber State. And people are like, who's Dame Lillard? I'm like, dude, he's great. He's freaking great. And I just told you there were 3 guys that could absolutely play in the NBA in this draft that absolutely will and eventually play in the NBA and play well.
Anything else?
No, I'm just saying. Don't tell me I don't know basketball. It's ridiculous. I know plenty of basketball.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Unbelievable.